Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a completely fascinating shift in relationship psychology. We're going to unpack the mindset of men who have completely flipped the traditional script, the guys who consciously refuse to chase validation. It's a real game changer, so let's jump right in and see how choosing purpose over pursuit completely transforms human connection.
All right, let's kick this off with a question you've probably thought about if you've ever paid attention to relationship dynamics. Have you ever noticed that some men simply never chase? You know exactly the type we're talking about here. They don't constantly text, they don't beg for the spotlight, and they absolutely do not try to force someone to like them. Now, it is so easy to look at that behavior from the outside and, kind of mistake it for apathy or just a lack of caring. But today, we're questioning the core motive behind that. Why do they flat out refuse to play the chasing game?
Well, that brings us to Section 1, the end of chasing.
And Section 2, self-respect above approval.
Now take a look at this contrast right here. Forcing affection versus natural appreciation. Trying to force a connection is literally like trying to push a giant boulder up a steep hill. It's exhausting and honestly, it's just unnatural. These guys vastly prefer to be appreciated organically. To them, if you have to frantically chase someone just to keep their attention, well, it's not authentic. And if it's not authentic, it's simply not worth their time or energy.
Which brings us to Section 3, the real core paradigm of this explainer. Choosing purpose over pursuit. Think about it. When you completely stop burning all your energy on endless chasing, that energy has to go somewhere, right? Instead of agonizing over unreturned texts, they pour all of that focus into four main pillars: work, health, hobbies, and long-term ambitions. They're at the gym. They're absolutely crushing a career goal or maybe mastering a new skill. They aren't just sitting around waiting for a partner to make their life exciting. They are actively building an incredible life for themselves. And you know what happens? Confidence comes from progress, not attention. Hitting a massive milestone at work or seeing real physical health improvements. That provides undeniable, tangible proof of your value. That builds a deep, unshakable confidence that is entirely within your control. It's so much more stable than the fleeting, temporary dopamine hit of someone just giving you a little bit of attention.
Because their foundation is just so solid, we arrive at this absolute game changer of a takeaway. Relationships become part of their life, not the center of it. A romantic partner doesn't have to carry the impossible, heavy burden of being their quote-unquote everything. It takes all the pressure off. It actually allows the relationship to flourish naturally as this incredibly meaningful addition to their world rather than the core focal point of their entire existence.
All right, moving right along to Section 4, reciprocity and mutual effort.
Because of that high standard they've set for themselves, they have zero tolerance for mixed signals. So we see this dynamic, consistency versus mixed signals. If a guy realizes he's the only one initiating or putting in the effort, he doesn't play games. Actually, scratch that, he doesn't even entertain the games. He simply steps back. Consistency is totally non-negotiable. If the effort isn't mutual, he comfortably walks away and refocuses back on his purpose.
Since they absolutely aren't operating from a place of desperation, they approach dating methodically. Step 1, they observe character, values, and behavior first. Step 2, they make decisions carefully rather than impulsively acting on just physical attraction. And Step 3, they build only on true compatibility. It's honestly the superpower of patience. They would much rather wait for a lasting relationship than rush headfirst into the wrong one just to avoid being alone.
And finally, let's hit Section 5, rejection as redirection. Now this mindset totally flips the script on psychological resilience. Let's look at the definition here. The ability to see rejection not as a measure of self-worth or a personal failure, but as a natural part of life and a redirection. Resilient people do not view rejection as a measure of their value. If someone isn't interested, there's no forcing it, no begging. They simply accept it as a really helpful redirection toward a connection that will just be a much more natural fit. Because they fully embrace that resilience, they move forward with quiet confidence, always valuing respect, balance, and genuine connection. Look, not chasing doesn't mean they don't want love. It just means they value respect and balance above all else. A life of purpose already gives them so much stability, so they flat out refuse to participate in any dynamic that lacks that same equilibrium. So that brings us to the end of our explainer today. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. Ask yourself, are you chasing affection or are you building a life of purpose? Seriously, take a moment to reflect on what truly sits at the center of your life right now. If you're feeling exhausted by the endless pursuit of validation, well, maybe it's time to step back, build your own foundation, and let genuine connection find you. Keep learning, keep focusing on your purpose, and I will see you in the next explainer.